O spirit, I seek passage to the sacred mountain shrine.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Keegs, and today we're going to talk about Kena Bridge of Spirits. Now, I know this game is pretty old. It came out in like 2021, but I thought it's still worth talking about. It's a pretty good game, has a lot of good elements, though I think there are some things that could have made it better. First off, I loved the aesthetic of this game. I mean, the art style and direction they went with, and the effects of all of the moves I thought were really cool. All of the abilities had really cool animations. The story was actually pretty heartfelt, and more heartfelt than I actually expected it to be, and it was kind of sad. I mean, it makes sense that she is a spirit guide and she's helping these spirits pass over, but that also means that everybody you encounter and talk to and make friends with is actually dead, and they're going to be probably moving on soon. My big problem in this game, though, is the combat. I felt like while a lot of it was good, there was a lot of inconsistency in difficulty and matching enemy types to the difficulty. I mean, I was playing on a mostly expert spirit guide, and then every now and then I'd have to drop it down for a fight here or there just because it became way over the top challenging, and just tonally it just felt all over the place to me. It was interesting that you could essentially never be one-shotted because after a big hit, you would go down to 1 HP at the worst, which is good, you know, in theory, and I like that in theory, except for the fact that there's a lot of enemies that have attacks that just will automatically put you down to 1 HP, and that just really bothered me because it was not super easy to heal in this game. I thought every time you looked for one of the little plants to heal you up, the tracking was a little weird on the controller, and it just wouldn't register that I was, hitting the heal button and trying to get my little spirits to go, take that plant on, but just the button wasn't popping up. So I just feel like that was like a tracking problem that honestly could have been sorted out in a technical aspect of the game. But that was the only way to heal, essentially, so if I didn't hit that one specific button or get that one very specific camera angle on that plant, then I just died, essentially, because I wouldn't be able to get it, and I would waste time trying to pick up that heal, but it wouldn't be there for me, and then I would get hit in the back. Also, I just hate the mechanic of getting put down to 1 HP, especially that witch. That was just, if you didn't interrupt her in time, all of a sudden you're at 1 HP. I mean, it's really nice that we didn't encounter her more than the one time, I don't think, but overall, like, WTF, why is that a mechanic? And, if I'm not near her and I don't have any rot buildup, then I'm just SOL because there's nothing I can do. I can't get to her fast enough. The shooting her with an arrow doesn't seem to take her out or stun her, so I just get hit with the 1 HP, and there's literally nothing I can do about it if I'm not near her and I don't have any rot. So I just didn't like that. I mean, I feel like if you're going to do that kind of mechanic, you have to say that any damage I deal will essentially stagger her. I would think, just in my experience, it was really annoying. But like I said, I only encountered that boss one time, or not boss even, it was just a random enemy, so I only encountered them once, so I guess it's not that big a deal, but I could have easily seen a situation in which I encounter them further down in the story, so I don't know, maybe this is a moot point. Probably my biggest complaint about the combat system here is the parrying system. I felt like the timing window is very, very erratic and makes no sense. It's constantly changes as to how quickly you need to pull it up or at what point you need to pull it up. It doesn't make any sense to me. Usually I am very, very good at parrying, and that's how I get through many of my Souls playthroughs, is through parrying. But in this game, it's like some bosses were so easy to parry, and some I just wondered if you could do it at all. I mean, this boss here, I think, should have been able to be parried pretty much without fail because he's got a sword, but yet I could never get it. I mean, I literally never parried him, and I don't understand why I wasn't able to parry this. And maybe the timing on this parry window is just so incredibly tight that I never got it, but at that point, I don't get it. I don't get the logic behind it at all, really. So if anybody out there was able to actually parry this guy, let me know down in the comments, because I'd be really interested to hear if it's even freaking possible. But then we got this guy who also has a sword, and he is super easy to parry. I parried pretty much every move of his to beat this boss, and I never had to lower the difficulty at all because I got the parrying down for this guy. other bosses just seem to have different parry windows that don't make a lot of sense to me and don't feel very consistent. And also bringing up the shield also feels a little inconsistent as to how long it takes for the shield to recognize that I'm trying to shield and not just pulse the environment around me. And I think that's probably what gives it a little bit of inconsistency. If I had to guess, I wish the pulsing was bound to another button and shielding was just automatic. And even if there was a delay, the game wouldn't have to figure out if I'm trying to pulse or if I'm trying to shield. It would just automatically do the delay, and then I would get my shield. And I think that would make it a lot more consistent, and I can prepare for that because I know, hey, it takes a second to get my shield. And I just think that the game sometimes takes an extra second to think about what it wants to do as an action. The platforming in this game isn't bad for the most part. I loved how you could slow time and shoot your bow and find the little plants or whatever, and you could shoot those to grapple to other ledges. I thought that was really cool. And eventually when you got your dash, I thought that added a really good aspect. I really would have liked to be able to actually dash while I was jumping or in the air. I think that would have added a pretty cool platforming element to the game. And even in bosses, when you're about to get hit, all of a sudden you can just, instead of trying, and you can't shield in the air either, so you just kind of get hit in the air. But if you could dash, that would at least give you a little way to get around some of those enemies that are throwing things at you in the air, because if you don't have that, then you just kind of get hit in the air and there's nothing you can do because you can't really change directions very well. My biggest complaint is that the platform itself would just not register that I was on the platform sometimes, or its version of what was too short to make the jump is not the same as what I would feel like should have made the jump, because you kind of get stuck into that like weird fall animation when you hit the edge of a ledge and then just kind of fall down. I wish all of the ledges at least were able to allow me to hang on with my hands, because you can hang from ledges on very specific ledges, but not some ledges, and I don't understand why. Just let me, if I get close enough that I'm that close, instead of putting me in a fall animation and just making me fall off the ledge, why not just let me hold on to the edge and then I can pull myself up? I think that would have been a lot less frustrating for some of the times that I died just falling into nothingness because, the ledge clipping was weird. Speaking of which, that kind of brings me to like the world exploration. I feel like the world almost felt very rigid just because of the fact that you couldn't go a lot of places and you couldn't jump on a lot of things. Every time you tried to jump on like a route or something that was not like part of the walkable terrain, then it just like bounced it off. And to me, that seems like a budget issue. They didn't have the time to get all the glitches out for like the weird ways people could get stuck, so they just kind of roped every area off that wasn't the main ground, and you would just like go in your weird fall animation until you hit whatever solid ground was there. Which brings me to my last point, which is the fact that the timed trials I thought were way too fast. I mean, I was not being able to get these done, so I decided to lower the difficulty. Still couldn't get it done, and I went all the way down to story mode, where basically every enemy was a one-hit kill, and I still could not complete some of these trials, which just to me seems a little ridiculous. I mean, I understand the need for a challenge, but something that, you have to have absolutely perfect hits and maybe get multiple enemies at a single time just to complete the task on a story mode seems absolutely ludicrous to me. But that just kind of brings it back to the balance of this game just being way all over the place. Overall, I thought the game was good, but not great, and I thought it could have been great because I loved the aesthetic of it all and it looked really good. I liked the combat for the most part, with the exception of the difficulty just being kind of all over the place. Playing on expert difficulty, and sometimes I would like be one or two shotting enemies, and other times I would be hacking away with them with like what felt like a toothpick, because it took forever and their attacks would one-shot me or 1 HP me, and I just thought that was really annoying. Some of the bosses were really fun, other ones I just thought were kind of cheap. So I think if they had fine-tuned the bosses a little bit more, then I think this game could have been amazing. But let me know, am I just over-exaggerating some of the faults of this game, or do you agree with me? Let me know down in the comments. But I'm Keegs, and I will catch you all next time for some more video game content.